For Sentinel.com, this is Ira Winderman with your latest Ask Ira Miami Heat mailbag. Our first question today comes from Leonard in Aventura, who asks, Josh Richardson's injury is a blessing in disguise. It sets in motion the necessity to learn how to adapt on the fly during the NBA season. Remember the Gerald Green incident or the Mario Chalmers trade? Fans act as if the starting five will play all 82 games. Leonard, I'm not so sure any knee injury that has a player out 6 to 8 weeks is any sort of blessing in disguise. And the one thing about this season's Heat team is there are so many newcomers that camp would have been really important with Josh when it came to any semblance of continuity. What it does is it fast-tracks the possibilities of others. For example, Dion Waiters now should get as much of a shot to start at shooting guard as any player on this roster. It definitely opens the door to Dion Waiters. But what it also does is create concerns about depth in defense when it comes to shooting guard. Remember, that's something that Josh Richardson does as well as anyone on this roster. Now you have to question whether players like Dion Waiters or Tyler Johnson can be as much or even close to as much of a defensive pest as Josh Richardson showed in just his first single NBA season. Our second question comes from Eddie, who says, is a possible bench role a better idea for Chris Bosh? He could play as a backup power forward center so that the starting unit can build chemistry. Eddie, you don't not play your highest paid player, and you certainly don't play him off the bench. Plus, there's nothing right now to indicate that conditioning will be a problem with Chris. If anything, the concern is how many games will he be available to be out for? Can he play every game? Can he play back-to-back games? Can he play after lengthy road trips? That's the concern. But what I think you do with Chris is you play him, and you play him a lot. And you see, one, does the chemistry work with this roster? Or two, at least show other teams that Chris is able to play in case they're interested in a trade. Because keep one thing in mind, in today's NBA economy, Chris hardly has an untradeable contract. And our third and final question today comes from Daniel in Miami, who says, Ira, I think you might be underestimating Willie Reed. Don't you think his signing was one of the better ones after the signing of Hassan Whiteside and Tyler Johnson? Willie Reed will be a key player this season. I view him as a steal this offseason. What are your thoughts? Daniel, my thought is this. If Willie Reed was a steal in today's NBA economy, I'm sure he would have been able to get more than the minimum for another team on this summer's free agent market. Now look, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have the potential to still emerge as a quality player, and the Heat do that as well as anyone. Really coming up with a player and making him more than he's previously been. But to me it comes down to this. How much will the Heat use a backup center? You know Hassan Whiteside will get a lot of minutes commensurate with his salary. And if Chris Bosh is back, he likely will shift to center when Hassan goes out. Willie could help the Heat. It depends how much they really use a backup center. Those are today's 3 questions. We'll be back tomorrow with 3 more. For SunSentinel.com, I'm Ira Winderman.